Hello and welcome back to the Survivor League Breakdown. I'm your host, Josh Shepardson, and you can follow me on Twitter where I post as @bchat50. Going to do the Survivor League Breakdown just a little bit different this week. Going to go through every game like usual, but instead of going through the uh, betting sequence or the way that they show up on the sportsbook pages by their bet number, we're going to go through my top plays, secondary picks, and the rest of my selections in order. The top plays are not organized by in terms of my favorite plays. They are all roughly within that same tier. On kicking that off, we've got the Bengals -10 at the Browns, and they actually are my favorite play this week. So while within this top place tier, everybody's pretty evenly grouped, this game is the one that I feel the most confident in. Austin Davis was announced as the starter for the Browns. The Browns mustered just 10 points a few weeks ago with Johnny Manziel under center against the Bengals. Bengals are playing good football. They have too much offensive talent, too much defensive talent for the Browns. The Browns are in disarray. They just lost a Monday Night Football contest on a blocked field goal of all things that was returned for a touchdown. They're a mess. The Bengals are not a mess. They are the exact opposite. They are tied for the biggest spread of the week at -10, and I love the Bengals this week. I also like the Patriots, who are tied for the biggest favorite status at -10 versus the Eagles at home. The Patriots are tough to beat at Foxborough. Tom Brady's healthy, and while everybody else seems to be falling apart around him, as long as Brady's under center, I feel pretty good about this Patriots team, especially against an Eagles squad that reportedly Chip Kelly's basically lost. I mean, this team is gone. It looks like he's lost the locker room. They have been an absolute dumpster fire lately. And the Patriots should be getting Danny Amendola back in the passing attack, which will help to some degree offset the loss of Rob Gronkowski. Scott Chandler is capable of stepping up and being a very, very Gronk-lite, not even in the same tier, but in terms of being a big target in the red zone, he certainly can do that. Next up, we've got the Panthers traveling to New Orleans to face the Saints. They are 7-point favorites, and they are the lone unbeaten team left. I like the Panthers in this one, predictably. The Saints are considerably better offensively at home, where Drew Brees has been better since over the last 4 or 5 years. He's posted considerably better numbers, but it's not going to matter against his pass defense. It's elite. Josh Norman's a stud. The linebackers are studs as well. Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly. I mean, they have talent at every level of that defense. Cam Newton's playing at an MVP caliber level. Jonathan Stewart's more than capable back. And this Saints team struggles with tight ends. And go figure, the only reliable pass catcher in this offense for the Panthers is their tight end, Greg Olsen. So everything lines up favorably for the Panthers, and I don't see them taking their foot off the gas. They appear to have their eye on the prize, winning out and continuing to march through the playoffs. So really like the Panthers this week. Broncos are -4 on the road at San Diego. I will take them in my top tier of plays as well. Just a 4-point favorite, so not as large of a favorite as the other top plays, but Brock Osweiler's look good. They're coming off of a big win against the Patriots at home, and the running game is clicking on all cylinders. And the biggest problem for the Chargers this week is the fact that the Broncos' pass defense is elite, and they are the team that passes it more than any other in the NFL. So not a good matchup for them. I believe they'll struggle to move the football. They played well and passed well against the Jaguars last week, but this defense is considerably better than the Jaguars. Look for the Broncos to win this contest, and I think that they easily cover that 4-point spread as well, just to throw that in there as well. The last team in my top plays is the Arizona Cardinals, who are traveling to the St. Louis Rams. They are 5.5-point favorites. Cardinals lost Chris Johnson for the rest of the regular season and the postseason unless they reach the Super Bowl, at which time he can be activated from injured reserve with designation to return. For this week's purposes, just know that he's out. Andre Ellington also likely out with turf toe. That means a heavy dose of David Johnson in the backfield. They signed Kerwin Williams from their practice squad to also join the backfield fray. The pass catchers are getting healthy. Michael Floyd played last week. John Brown played last week. J.J. Nelson stepped up. Larry Fitzgerald has been awesome all year. They have plenty of weapons to get after this Rams offense, and the Rams offense just isn't good enough to keep up with this group. They're averaging the second fewest points per game this year, and outside of Todd Gurley, they really don't have a lot of offensive weapons. Tavon Austin's good, but he's more of a gadget player still, and they just don't have a quarterback that's capable of even keeping this close. They won earlier in the year, not going to happen this go-around. Next up, moving on to my secondary picks, we got the Bears at -7 against the San Francisco 49ers. They are at home, the Bears, that is. And I do like them to beat the 49ers. Blaine Gabbert's been somewhat competent under center. I feel like the spread's a little bit on the large side, but maybe not. Jay Cutler's played really well with Adam Gase as the offensive coordinator. The running attack's been very good with Langford and Forte, both shining at times. The Niners defense hasn't been very good, but this feels something like a game that's going to be a little bit closer than maybe the spread indicates. I was close to putting it in my top plays, but because I just don't quite have that confidence in the talent on the Bears defense and offense for that matter, just couldn't quite go up to the top plays. I do think that they win, though, so feel pretty good about them, and they're one of those teams that should be widely available still to use if you are still alive in your survivor pool and only allowed to use a team once or don't have second chances or things of that nature. So they are in that group of teams that you probably use still. Miami Dolphins are 4-point favorites at home against the Ravens. I like them to win. Matt Schaub threw a pick six again last week. Shocker. I mean, we've never seen that before. The Ravens offense is lost without all of their key playmakers, really. I mean, they don't have Steve Smith, they don't have Justin Forsett, and they don't have their quarterback, Joe Flacco. That's just an unreal number of losses. There isn't an offense in the league that could sustain that. They scored 13 points on special teams last week, one return touchdown and one blocked field goal touchdown. You're not going to get that every week, and that really means that the offense mustered just 20 points last week. Dolphins not looking like a very good team at this point. They are absolutely stumbling here down the stretch, but I just think they have more talent than the Ravens, and they are at home, so this feels like a pretty safe pick to me. Next up is the Steelers -7 versus the Colts in Pittsburgh. This is another one where I was pretty darn close to putting in my top plays group, but Matt Hasselbeck's playing better than I could have imagined, and that secondary is struggling, and the Colts have the receivers to make that secondary look bad again. Doug Baldwin torched them last week. Jermaine Kearse caught a couple of touchdown passes, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb at all to say that T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief are both better receivers than that combo of Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse. So certainly are some pass catchers to make the Steelers pay and could turn this into a shootout. But Big Ben is healthy. He's reportedly didn't have a concussion, isn't sure if he had a concussion. Regardless, he's been cleared to practice. With him back, you got to like the odds of this offense cranking up some points again. They were able to hang a big number on the Seahawks last week in Seattle. The Colts defense is not the Seahawks defense, and they're also at home, so you got to like that. I think if this does turn into a shootout like I'm expecting, the Steelers have more offensive firepower and have a better quarterback, so I'll go ahead and take them in this contest. Finally, in my secondary picks, the Redskins are 4.5-point favorites at home against the Cowboys on Monday night. Kirk Cousins is just a completely different quarterback at home, and the Cowboys have Matt Castle under center with Tony Romo out for the remainder of the year with another broken collarbone. I'll take the Redskins in this one based on the difference in quarterback play, but I mean, this is a Redskins team that can play down to their competition. Yes, they're leading the NFC East, but my God, that division is a train wreck, and they let the Giants hang around last week after racing out to a big lead, so it certainly could be a close game. I still feel comfortable with the Redskins here, at least as comfortable as one can feel picking the Redskins, and I'll take them as the last of my secondary picks. Moving on to the rest of the picks, and these are the picks where don't have a ton of conviction, really could go pretty close to flipping a coin on most of these contests, but I got to make a pick, so we're going to start with a Thursday night football contest, and I will take the Lions +3, beating the Packers again. The Packers receivers just are awful right now. They can't seem to create any separation. Devontae Adams looks like he might be the worst starting receiver in the NFL, and by a wide margin. He's dropping everything. He's not catching his targets. He looks awful. Randall Cobb just isn't the same player without Uh, Jordy Nelson there to take some pressure off on the outside, allow him to do his thing from the slot. The running game has looked better with Eddie Lacy lately, but they really just didn't lean on it enough last week, to be quite blunt. And I'll take the Lions at home. They already went into Green Bay and beat the Packers. They look like a different team with Jim Bob Cooter as the offensive coordinator. The defense has stepped up lately. This would have seemed crazy to make this selection a few weeks ago, but the Lions are playing much better football than the Packers. I'll take them to win this contest. Next up, the Titans host the Jaguars. The Titans lost a closely contested game against the Jaguars just a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. Had an opportunity for a Hail Mary, but Marcus Mariota took a sack. So it was a very closely contested game. I'll go with the home team in this contest. I took the home team in the last contest. I think we're looking at a split for the season series for these two teams. Mariota and Bortles have both looked good at times. I feel a little bit more confident in Marcus Mariota than I do in Blake Bortles, but both have made young quarterback mistakes. But I'll take the home team here, and I think that Mariota makes makes fewer mistakes than Blake Bortles this week, and that ends up being the difference. Next up, the Texans travel to Buffalo. Texans are 3-point underdogs, but they are rolling. Since getting shellacked by the Miami Dolphins, they've allowed under 9 points per game to opposing offenses. They went into Cincinnati and beat Cincinnati. They beat the Saints and held them to 6 points at home. This defense is cooking. J.J. Watt is unstoppable, and I'm surprised to see that they're underdogs in Buffalo. I'll take the Texans in this one. Too much defensive talent right now for the Bills, and the Bills have a number of key injuries. Not to mention, I don't think they're going to have an answer for DeAndre Hopkins this week. The corners have been great this year for the Bills, but they were just torched by Jeremy Maclin. I think Hopkins gets the better of that secondary. The Texans have just enough to win. Next up is the Seattle Seahawks and Minnesota Vikings in a pick'em in Minnesota. This really is a tough game to select, but I will take the better quarterback in this contest, and that is Russell Wilson. Wilson has 8 touchdown passes in his last 2 games with 0 interceptions. Adrian Peterson's an elite talent, but in a quarterback-driven league, I'll take the team with the better quarterback as opposed to the team that's still reliant on a ground attack to beat their opponents. Seahawks have a good run defense. Peterson should still run well, but the Vikings' offensive strengths are not aided by the Seattle Seahawks' defensive strengths this week, and I think that's going to end up being the difference. I think Russell Wilson leads the Seahawks to victory. Next up is the Buccaneers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs are 2-point favorites, and the Falcons just continued to be their own worst enemy after getting off to a great start, have just been crumbling ever since. The Bucs lost last week to 40-year-old Matt Hasselbeck and the Colts, but I look for them to get back on track this week at home. Winston should outperform Matt Ryan, which seems crazy to say, but Ryan's looked awful this year. Devontae Freeman's back, so the Falcons certainly have some getting some offensive firepower back, but Dougie Martin, I expect him to run wild on this Falcons defense. It's been fairly giving to running backs, just got torched by Adrian Peterson last week, so I look for them to continue to get beat up on the ground this week by Doug Martin. Next up, we got a New York Jets and Giants game, which the Giants are the home team, but obviously they share a stadium, so take that somewhat with a grain of salt. The Giants are 2.5-point underdogs, but I like them to beat the Jets this week. When in doubt in a close game like this, I'm going to lean on the better quarterback. And while Eli makes some real head-scratcher decisions more frequently than most elite quarterbacks do, there's no question that he's a better quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't care that Fitzpatrick's looked competent this year. The body of work suggests that we know what the real Ryan Fitzpatrick is. I'll roll with the Giants here. They lost a head-scratching game to the Redskins after playing the New England Patriots really tough before their bye week. I think they come out fired up and look more like the team that pushed Tom Brady and the New England Patriots to the limit than the team that inexplicably lost to the Washington Redskins. Finally, the Kansas City Chiefs look to continue their momentum, going to Oakland this week to face the Raiders. They are 3-point road favorites, and Alex Smith did something that I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen him do this before. He threw the ball downfield. Wasn't dink and dunk last week, and if he's willing to take some chances downfield again, the Raiders secondary is certainly quite giving. Maclin is very capable of beating up on them. They've struggled with tight ends this year. Travis Kelce is one of the best in the league, and they should be getting Charkandrick West back this week, which gives them 2 sharp-looking running backs. Both West and Spencer Ware have looked great in the absence of Jamal Charles. Very different running back, so a nice little 1-2 combination there. They should win this contest, but Derek Carr's been very good at times this year. The Chiefs have struggled with receivers, and the Raiders have two very good receivers in Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, and one emerging big play threat and rookie undrafted free agent Seth Roberts, who went off last week. So this might not be a laugher at all, and I mean the 3-point spread suggests it shouldn't be. I feel a little bit more comfortable in this one going with the Chiefs. I think they have more talent, even though I do think Carr's a better quarterback than Smith. And usually in a close game like this, I'll lean on the better quarterback. I just think the Chiefs have enough talent elsewhere to make up for that gap in quarterbacking talent, and I think that they take this one. And that's going to wrap things up for this week's Survivor League breakdown for Week 13. Good luck this week. In the meantime, check out the content at fantasyfootballcafe.com, where we've got articles, podcasts, and a very active forum to help prepare you to win your fantasy football contests. Till next week, good luck.